Thank you for joining us on Local Flavor. I'm Deborah Anderson, and today I'm joining you from Aunt Faye's Community Kitchen in Moreland, Kansas. They have created this incubator kitchen, which is a commercial type kitchen that people can use to come in and bake to commercial standards while they're maybe trying out to see if they want to have a home-based business. And if you would like to rent this kitchen, you can talk to anyone at the Moreland Mercantile or Mr. Frakes or Morgan Owen. So today, the first thing we're going to try in this kitchen is a chocolate pumpkin cake. And the first thing I want to do is put my metal mixing bowl and my wire whisk in the freezer, because later on we're going to use some whip topping that we need to whip up, and it will be much easier and faster if this is super cold. So let's go ahead and mix up the batter. I'm going to start by putting in 1.5 cups of butter. This is a really nice transition to fall. If you don't want to go all the way pumpkin pie, this gives you a nice bit of pumpkin flavor, but you still get your addiction to chocolate. And I'm going to put the sugars in. There's 1 cup of brown sugar. That'll give it a little bit more matured flavor. I always know if a cake has butter in it instead of oil that I'm going to like it probably. This is a cup of regular sugar. And then I need a teaspoon of vanilla to start. And I'll get that started mixing, and then we'll get the dry ingredients and the pumpkin started. I'm getting stuff everywhere. So it's just like home. Okay, for the pumpkin mixture, I'm going to put in 1 cup of pumpkin. It's just canned pumpkin. And I'm going to whisk in 1/2 cup of buttermilk. That's another flavor that I know. Butter and buttermilk in a cake is always going to be really moist and delicious. I'll use my whisk on the dry ingredients first, so I don't have to have 2 whisks dirty. And my dry ingredients is 1.5 cups of flour, and 2/3 of a cup of cocoa powder. And then in this bowl I've measured out 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I use the Muldoon sea salt. I really like it for any cooking, really. It's like little flakes instead of grains. So I'm going to whisk that so it's really well incorporated. If you don't whisk it, I feel like a lot of times your cocoa powder can clump, and it will never, ever break apart then once it's wet. And I'm going to whisk together the buttermilk and the pumpkin. And to my sugar mixture, it looks nice so far. I'm going to start adding my eggs. I add them 1 at a time. There are 4 eggs total, and I'm using large eggs. I'm dirtying up all my prep bowls. Once I get the eggs put in, I'm going to put these in alternately. My dry and my wet. And it'll make a pretty thick batter. Now, I have made this in a big sheet pan. I think they call it a half sheet pan. It's about 12 by 17. And that's good for taking somewhere. Today I'm making it in 2 9-inch baking pans. Because they're easier to put in the fridge is the main reason. Get that going, and I'll get a spoon. I'm going to alternate the dry and wet ingredients. It probably just keeps it from being such a mess. Oh, did you see that? Pumpkin everywhere. I'm not actually going to stop it to do this since it's not as messy. We'll use, it didn't use a whole can of pumpkin. A pumpkin can has about 15 ounces. Later we'll need about 3/4 of a cup, and it's close enough just to use a cup here and then use the rest of the can later. It's a noisy little KitchenAid. Beautiful color. Love the lime green. I think it looked like it was brand new when we got here. This was part of the kitchen, so it's a well-stocked kitchen. It has a really big one, like they use it in a restaurant or schools also. This is just the smaller one that we wanted for this recipe. And they have pans. All the drawers had measuring cups and spoons, so we brought stuff in just in case, but it might have just about everything you need if you want to come here and make cookies for the holidays, or maybe you want to sell some for your kids' school project. Okay, I'm going to take a risk and add it while it's spinning. Because I'm getting impatient. At home I have a pore shield, but I feel like stuff sticks to the pore shield, just it's almost not that much better. I love KitchenAid mixer, as everyone knows, but before I could afford one, not that I ever could, but before I thought I could afford to get one, I used the little Sunbeam one. And the one thing I do miss about that little Sunbeam one was that the bowl turned instead of the beater. And so it was really easy to scrape the pan. Without having to stop it. I do need to stop this, or I'm a little bit of a daredevil, and I've learned that you do need to stop this. It seems like common sense, but I did learn from trying. Just going to scrape this bowl down. And I'll give it a few more licks in to get it mixed up. I'm going to pour it in my pans, and my oven's been preheated to about 350. So I'm using the 9-inch baking pans, and I put parchment paper in the bottom because it makes them so they absolutely are so easy to get out of the oven. And no, you cannot buy parchment paper in the rings. You do have to cut it out. I kept the label that came with them, and I use it as a guide. Okay, that's probably about good enough. You probably don't have to watch me pour this in. I'm sure it will be some sort of disaster. But I'm going to put them in an oven at 350, and they're going to cook about 30 minutes. It'll depend on your oven and the size of your pans. It can go, like a bundt pan might take up to an hour. But these have been taking me about 30 minutes. We do have a strange kitchen here, so not strange, but it's a stranger to me. So I'm going to watch it pretty carefully. When it's done, a toothpick will come out clean, and it'll start to draw away from the sides a little bit. I'm going to keep a close eye on it. I'll probably start checking it around 25 minutes. So when you come back, they'll be all finished. See you in a minute.
Make a difficult choice an easy one with Cedar View Assisted Living's knowledgeable and caring staff. Your loved one will be professionally taken care of as they transition into their new community. With movies, holiday parties, planned exercises, and games, residents will have opportunities every day to enjoy their time at Cedar View. Multiple room styles are available, ensuring a just right fit for your loved one. Come see Cedar View Assisted Living for yourself next to Sternberg Museum. The care you need, the home you want.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Russell and all the surrounding areas, is a Medicare certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing services to patients in their homes or wherever they reside.
She takes my blood pressure and listens to me breathe and asks me how I'm doing.
Whatever the need, Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Contact Angels Care today for more information on our home health services and how we can help you stay healthy. Angels Care Home Health, we serve patients.
Welcome back. Our cakes have been cooling and I have one up here to work with. This is how it looks. I let it cool at least 10 minutes in the pan before I take it out, and then it needs to cool quite a bit longer after that till it's totally cool. And this one, when it's in the pan, I set this plate on top and then I turn it over so there's no chance of it breaking or hitting the plate wrong, so it's pressed against it. And then I just peel off the parchment paper. So if I have another one later, I can show you that. But now we're gonna make some ganache topping for the top. It has a ganache layer, and then we have a pumpkin whip topping on the top. So, very nice gas stove here. I'm gonna need it between medium and high. And I have 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. And this is really easy. Ganache sounds fancy and difficult, but it's just heavy cream and chocolate. That's it. And I'm just gonna bring this to boiling, just barely. And then once it starts boiling, I'm gonna pour in an entire bag of Hershey's milk chocolate chips. Now, when I pour them in, I don't want to stir it right away. We're just gonna let them sit there and melt for 5 minutes. And while I'm letting them melt, I'll go ahead and start the pumpkin topping just to save some time. Ooh, I can feel the warmth. Actually, it's that kind of fall time of year. Actually, I feel like I'm at a campfire. I want a gas stove. We had it when we were little, and yes, we did do marshmallows on them. And everyone smoked back then. My mom always lit her cigarette on it too. Not nice. Nobody does that anymore. So I'm gonna turn it up just a titch. Watch it. I tried to hurry it one time before and it really went to a rolling boil, but if you find out soon enough, it's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what's in this topping. For the whip topping, we're gonna get a full 16-ounce container of heavy whipping cream, and I'm gonna put it in that really cold bowl. I'm gonna take them out right before I do it, so they're not here right now. And I wanna keep the heavy whipping cream really cold too. And then to kind of stabilize it, we're gonna put a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar in with the whipping cream. And I'm gonna kind of whisk in a little bit. It's got 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and 3/4 teaspoon of allspice. Did I say tablespoon? It's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and 3/4 teaspoon of allspice. I can't remember, I don't know if I said it right. But again, if you mix that together a little bit ahead of time, these little spices will fold into the heavy whipping cream a lot better. Now I'm using just a 7-layer stainless steel pan here. It'll hold the heat really well to make the chips melt. And this is for this kind of work. I really love this spatula with the very squared off edge, so that it really makes sure you're scraping the bottom of the pan. I love having this sink right here. Okay, I'm just gonna mix this into the powdered sugar and keep an eye on my whipping cream. It's starting to bubble just a little bit. Okay, so it's done. I'm gonna immediately take it off of the heat. Just turn the heat off. That's what's easy about gas too. And pour this all in, and I'm not stirring it yet until it gets them really soft. I'll just push them down into the hot cream. We'll let those sit 5 minutes. So let me take a look at the clock. It'll probably be be as we're finishing this up that that's done. So let me grab my cold stuff. I froze both the pan and even the whisk also. This is the whisk attachment for your KitchenAid. It does not usually come with it. It's one you have to buy separate. This will make sure my heavy whipping cream stays really cold while we're whipping. And I'm using the entire container this time. This will be the topping for our cake. I'm going to start it on low to get everything mixed up and to kind of coax the cream into whipping, and then I'll turn it up. So what I poured in with it was the entire container of cream. It was a ½ cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and 3/4 of a teaspoon. I said it again. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and 3/4 of a teaspoon of allspice. And that'll make it have kind of a pumpkin pie flavor. So I want to stir this, but we have to wait. We're gonna, once this gets coaxed into starting, we're gonna whip it to soft peaks, depending on how fast you can do it. It might take up to 4 minutes. And when it's a soft peak, when you lift your whisk out of it, it just kind of has a moundy, soft mounds within the triangles that you pull up. What we might do, we're running a little short on time, so I think I'm going to go ahead and let this finish off camera, and when we come back, we'll add the rest of the flavors into the whip topping and get our ganache all stirred up. So I'll be right back in a minute.
When a storm leaves your home battered and damaged, there's only one thing you can do. Forget all about it. The men in black at AquaShield Roofing and Construction have the skills and knowledge to fix your home so you'll forget the damage ever happened. Along with roofs, they do siding, guttering, insulation, windows, doors, and more. With offices in Hugoton, Oberlin, and Liberal, they're never too far away when damage strikes. When you need to forget about home damage, call the men in black at AquaShield Roofing and Construction.
Hi.
We're looking for insurance.
Oh, let's see who's free.
When insurance agents work for only one company, their options are simply limited. But a trusted choice independent agent is free to shop many companies for a better deal. Free to do what's right for you.
Let us shop for you. Contact Rogers & Associates to learn more.
Welcome back. We're making our chocolate pumpkin cake, and I've got soft peaks in my whipped topping, so I'm going to go ahead and fold in the rest. And I need to use the rest of the can of pumpkin. Look at that. I love the little spices showing in it. It looks so fancy. They'll go away though. It'll all turn orange, so enjoy it while you can. Get a close-up of my beautiful whipped topping. I love it with the little, it looks like it has vanilla beans in it, but there is no vanilla even. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. So this is going to be like a whipped topping frosting. And while this beats up to firm or stiff peaks, I'm going to work on the ganache. Now at the end, this other bowl I have is a little secret tip. Well, it's not really a secret. You can tell anyone you want. Okay, I'm just folding it in at first. And while that starts, our ganache has got to set for a while. And I'm just gonna stir it. This is so simple. Just, you got it to boiling Let it set for a while, and then I just have to stir it until it's creamy. Now once I have it stirred up, I need to let it set for about, I'd say an hour, so it will thicken up before I put it on the cake. I have made some yesterday that we can use, so I'm gonna top this cake with the stuff that's already, so you don't have to wait. I wish I had a whisk, but I do love my little Cuisinart. So once I get it to where it's really smooth, I'll just let it set and finish up. 1 hour. This is folded in. I'm going to turn it on high to finish up the stiff peaks. I might have to stop once and add, I think I'm going to scrape the bowl right now actually. It doesn't seem to be getting down there where I want it without help. Look at that, it's all over my hand. Here we go. I'm gonna turn that up high. And now I will, while that finishes up, I'm gonna put the ganache topping on the cooled cake. And this is ganache topping that has been thickening up for at least an hour. Since I made 2 cakes, this is about half of the saucepan full, a little less than a cup. And once this is on here, you don't want to touch it too much. You don't want to spread it too much unless it's really not moving where you want it to. I'm just going to let it kind of get to the edge. Oh, I think I did pretty good. I'm going to let it get to the edges and it will slowly go down the side of the cake. And then this needs to set for quite a while. 1 to 2 hours, we'll let this set to firm up. But lucky for you, I already have one that's firmed up. So see how nice and smooth that is? Except for I don't know why there's a big hole in my cake. Oh, you gotta be careful not to over whip. But if you add a little bit more cream, you can usually bring it back. At the end, I'm gonna add a tablespoon of instant vanilla pudding. And that'll just make it a little thicker like I like it. You don't have to, that's totally optional. It's really tracking through here, so. These are pretty good. If it has a curl on the top, it's about medium peak. Once you get this done, the trouble with this cake is tons of waiting. So this was close enough to done. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for at least an hour to chill. So I did make some already. So I'll grab it out of the fridge. I'm sorry, fridge, for the mean treatment. And I'm going to spread this on top, just about half of it on top of my completed cake here. Now, if you really love piping, it's thick enough. If you use the pudding, it's definitely thick enough to put into a piping bag, and you can make it look a lot prettier. This is something I'm not good at. I just have to admit it. So it'll just kind of be flopped on there because I am ready to taste it. So let me grab a bowl. This. And a big knife. And I'll just cut a tiny piece. This is going to have a cake layer, then the nice thick ganache layer. What's nice about the ganache is that it really keeps it moist. Seals in all that moisture. and then the pumpkin layer on top. There's also the little bit of pumpkin in the cake mix. So, I just got the pumpkin straight. That is so moist and delicious. And fresh pumpkin, it tastes just like pumpkin pie. And now all together. Ganache is so simple, but it does pack such a punch. You've got to try this. It takes a long time, but all the steps are easy. So have faith, give it a try. See you next time on Local Flavor.